Welcome to the Concrete Podcast, where we bring together the people who design it, produce it, place it, and build with it every day. Our goal is simple: to unify the concrete industry by sharing real conversations about materials, methods, and the challenges we're all working to solve. From ready-mix producers, contractors, engineers, researchers, and innovators, this podcast is about learning from each other and pushing our industry forward. Hello. I'd like to welcome you all to the Concrete Podcast. I'm Joe Shutterly.
I'm Joel Cookston.
Hey, easy.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
I
was excited.
All right. Well, I'm excited to be here in Minnesota.
Alexandria, Minnesota. Welcome, everybody in the room. Appreciate y'all being here.
I'd like to shout out to Jessica and Ryan with Concrete Solutions for dragging us up here.
I mean, I don't know if they drug us. I think we basically said, hey, we'd love to come and meet y'all.
I'll give that to you.
After all the conversations we've had with folks around here, it's nice to be here.
And it sounds we have a guy named Kevin Moore.
Kevin Moore.
He's
yes,
our
sir.
inside sales. Ryan's been doing a lot of conversations with him.
I think he's talked to us about everybody.
Been telling us about all your all's problems up here in Minnesota, and it sounds like you don't have any.
Zero problems.
Sounds like you guys got it all figured out.
That's why nobody's
and we're here to learn from all you guys, and so we can change where we came from.
That's right.
So, Ryan, Jessica, thank you.
Appreciate y'all
for having us up here.
Being advocates, and obviously early on in the process here, and kind of figuring out what this stuff actually does. What if it's going to be the long-term solution or just kind of a fix for now. So it's always good to kind of share information and bring everybody along.
Yeah, so don't hesitate to ask questions. I love questions. The more questions I get, the better. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a dumb question. But we'll start out and just give you a little background.
Sure.
So my background is I'm a third-generation concrete finisher, so I know your all's pain points very well. Mm-hmm. I was raised old school. My daddy was old union man, worked for the Baker Concretes of the world, so we were raised very hard, me and my brothers.
You're not usually in front of a camera is what you're saying.
No. This would never have happened 20 years ago at all.
Yes, sir.
So I started out at 9 years old on a come-along with my dad, and we got broke in the right way, is what I call it, just old school mentality. And after 10 years of working in the field, I graduated, went to work for him. I grew the company that he had. We grew to about 58 people of employees that we had, poured about 100,000 yards a year, had a very good reputation. But the one thing, we didn't have a whole lot of issues when I grew up with concrete, except for when they started to introduce SCMs, fly ashes and slags and metakaolins and microsilicas. Those things started to come into the market, and I started to see some of our problems increase. Mm-hmm. And then here comes curing compounds. I was raised old wet cure. Old wet cure was what I was raised on.
6-bag and wet cure.
Yes. So I was a guy in charge of the hose a lot of times growing up, and if we let the concrete dry out, we got fired and then rehired the next day. So I was raised wet cure. I was indoctrinated that wet cure was the only way to cure concrete. Mm-hmm. And I use that word indoctrination a lot, because a lot of this stuff we've been indoctrinated to I should say, shift risk back to us, us finishers and contractors. The ready-mix producers, cement manufacturers have learned to shift risk downstream. And that's just the way of the world. It's the way big business works, always has. I didn't know that growing up and growing a business. I didn't know that. I just took it as, hey, this is what we do. I listened to the teachers, and they know more than I do, and I just was indoctrinated with it.
Information was passed down generation to generation. Right.
So when my dad fell ill, I took the company over, grew it, and started to learn a little bit about the inner workings of concrete through a ready-mix producer called Shelby Materials. Chris Wolf was the technical director there, had been in the business for over 40 years, very intelligent person. He mentored me, taught me a little bit about the concrete industry from the right perspective, and that's my opinion, just the right perspective, is that he worried about the finisher first. Mm-hmm. That was Chris's whole job, finisher first.
Very intelligent.
He goes, I need to build the mix around the finisher. Not building the mix around me, but around the finisher. What does the finisher need to go home? What does the finisher need to lower his risk so that that person stays in business to continue to work with us? That was their motto. That was their culture. So I was raised in that, worked with them for over 20 plus years. Chris Wolf was the one, if you've watched any of the previous podcasts, he was the one that brung this technology to me. And he learned about this technology through polishing concrete. Well, they were polishing concrete, and they learned how the nanoparticles was manipulating the slurry at the top. And he got really excited because Chris is he is just a Bill Nye science guy of concrete. Just loves technology. So he brung it to me in 2014, and I was at my busiest part of my career. We had 7, 8 large warehouses over 800,000 square foot. I had crews everywhere all over the city, and here he comes bringing me a bucket. Joe, I think I got something for you. I said, Chris, take the bucket out of here. I don't need another freaking bucket. I got enough products, and if you guys can't fix with what you got, I don't need another one. We're done. We are now chemical finishers. We don't even know what concrete is anymore. We just finished chemicals. Right. So Chris goes, no, Joe, this is it. I know this is it for you. So after a year, I didn't listen to him anymore. I just kept doing my own ways. And finally, I got a dead time because I was having some issues that I couldn't get controlled, and it was basically surface issues of scaling at that time. I just couldn't get them under control. I said, all right, Chris, let's try this stuff. All right, we get a mock-up set up. We get in there. I try it. I noticed there's a difference in surface tension when I started to finish, and that's what pulled me in.
That was topical. Right. That was topical. Early on, spraying it on with the bug sprayer.
And that's what pulled me in. I was like, all right, this is doing something, manipulating the surface. So let's see what this does. So about after 2 or 3 months, I started messing around with it, and I'm like, okay, there's something to this. I started to learn it was controlling water at the surface. I didn't want to say it was evaporation retarder because it's not what it really was. It was just allowing the water to stay there longer than I was used to. So my timing of finishing changed, and I wasn't used to that. As concrete finishers, we're used to chasing concrete. I think you all understand that. We chase it because it's evaporating or setting quickly. I never was able to finish concrete that was curing at its own pace, and that was unusual for me. So I decided all right, let's keep doing this. So I started to work with that ready mix producer. I started working with a bunch of individuals just trying to bring this material into the market. And I started implementing the topical part of my construction side that next year. No one knew what I was doing. What drove me to do this and take that risk, because you all know when we put something off the surface, all of us concrete finishers and concrete contractors are assuming that risk. We all are. So what allowed me to take that risk was I decided to do this for my 28-year-old daughter right now. Hannah Marie Shutterly has autism and mild mental retardation. She is nonverbal. Me and my wife take care of her constantly around the clock. So I looked at this as a way to give back to her and build something for her future, because we all know concrete finishing doesn't sometimes pay the bills all the way through. Whether you're a big contractor, little contractor, it's hard to make ends meet when you're pouring concrete. There's just a lot of variables and a lot of things we have to eat and take care of. So I looked at this and I said, I'm going to do this for her. I sit here today because of her. Trust me, contracting, I was fine at it. I could have done it, but
it was a little easier, I would assume.
It's a lot easier than doing what I'm doing today. I would say that.
Fighting the big boys.
Fighting the big boys.
Yes, sir.
So we took off in this endeavor, and in 2018, it started to grow and everything started to shape up, and I had to make a decision to either sell my company and do this full time or shut this down and just stay finishing concrete. Well, I started seeing the problems arise in 18 with the cement changes. I seen it all the way back in 18. Started to hear about the rumblings. Cement's going to change. Cement's going to change. I'm like, well, maybe this is the solution that helps that change. So I decided to sell the company, sold it in 18, dove into this full-fledged. My goal was to figure out how to get these types of fixes, solutions in the hands of all my brothers and sisters that pour concrete across the nation. How do I do that? And I looked at this as a conduit to do that. Now, I will tell you, I'm the most skeptical person in this room. I do not like chemicals, even though I sell one. I will not sell anything or do anything unless I believe or touch it with my hands first. I poured over 200,000 yards of concrete with this before I ever let it go to another finisher's hands. I wanted to fail on me first before I'd ever let it fail on anybody else. And I did. That's what we did, over 200,000 yards. And then I started to study it, work with Purdue University, understand nanotechnology, started to understand cement chemistry. And if it wasn't for Dr. Luna Liu educating me and sending me through a very fast PhD course of chemistry and nanotechnology, I wouldn't have the knowledge I have today if it wasn't for her and Mr. Wolf. So as I started to study this, I started to see that change of cement. In 2020, I started testing the 1L cements before it even hit the market. I started working with Heidelberg. I started working with Lafarge and Boozy in my local area. I started testing it, and I started seeing automatically slower bleed rates. I started seeing more of a jelly finish. I seen set times delayed. I seen where chemistry wasn't as effective back then in 2020. So I said, so how are we going to combat these things? And a lot of the times when I would push against the cement manufacturers and ask them these questions, they would just say it's 1-to-1. Like there's no change. And I'm like, there's a change. Like literally there's a change. And I'm in the lab. I'm not outside yet. I've not introduced humidity, and I've not introduced UV rays. I've not introduced wind and sun and
thermal,
all that stuff to it. So this is either going to get worse or better. So then I started getting more, and I started putting it in the field, doing 20 by 20 slab pours. Then I started seeing the real problems. I started seeing abrasion-resistant numbers go down. I started to see the surface tests. I used to take an old 16 double-head nail a couple days after I pour a slab, and I would just scratch the surface, and that's pretty hard. I noticed right off the bat I could take that nail, and it would just gouge. Like, that's not good. So I started working with that, and then what broke it all open is I took 5 cement manufacturers, and me and Purdue University researched all those manufacturers, and we wanted to see what the difference was versus type 1. I was not on a witch hunt. I just wanted to know how we're going to finish this, how our timing needs to change, what chemicals work, what chemicals don't work, so that we could at least have a transition where we're not eating a lot of money as contractors and finishers. Like, there's a lot of money on the table when we're out there. So that's what got me started. And then we realized that when we went over 10% limestone, the curve started to fall off. 11, 12, 13, 14, everything just started falling off. Strengths fell off. Abrasions got worse. Set times were all over the table. Bleed rates were much slower. So that would allow, that made us trap bleed water quicker. So once I got through that study, the state of Indiana decided to cap the 1L cement in my state. And actually, it's the best thing Indiana did, because that has now trickled to a lot of states. So Indiana needs a round of applause for capping that thing to at least put a stake in the ground so we can understand what we're dealing with. So now, since that's been done, we now know through a lot of the research now that certain water reducers don't work well with this 1L cement. Some do, some don't. We know accelerators are not as effective. We know retarders are not as effective. And a lot of that has to do with just the way the chemistry in the cement is being manufactured and ground, and whatever chemicals they're putting on it as grinding agents. So that's how I got started in E5. That's the rabbit hole I'm in. And now we decided to start this podcast. It wasn't my idea. I don't like getting in front of people. I don't like to talk, even though I talk a lot. But at the end of the day, I seen this as a platform to like, look, you concrete finishers are the last defense for good concrete. You guys are it. You guys are the last ones to touch it. You're the last ones that get you get the first ones to get blamed for everything. But at the end of the day, who's going to stick up for these guys? I don't see an industry sticking up for people like me. When I was in a job site, I never had a cement manufacturer and admixture salesman sitting out there going, well, it's probably our fault. No, You're sitting out there. Contractors are sitting, GCs are sitting out there. We're arguing over something that could have been controlled from the beginning. And if you can control it from the beginning, you can control it all the way till it gets to you guys. So that's how I got started. Now, I met Joel. He was actually in it before I was.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, it was at the point where we had the liquid. We didn't actually know what it was at the time. It was when JCPenney's and Sears were ripping out their carpeting, right, and polishing those floors up because they realized the concrete was the most sustainable flooring that they could own. So they started using colloidal silica, which is E5, early on to polish, like you said. We put it in the hands of Joe, and like Joe said, he was very reluctant. You called it snake oil, I think, and it took a while. But long story short, the liquid, the colloidal silica that was made here in the States by a global manufacturer, right? This is a liquid, a product that has been used historically for, 70 years, 80 years in the paper industry, right? All of our papers used, or all colloidals used in paper manufacturing, in paint manufacturing, makeups. It's a suspension agent, right? It's something to kind of suspend the products and the chemicals within our products. And so once we found this liquid, it was kind of a cloak and dagger at the beginning. Where is this stuff from? Where can we, find more of it? And it was interesting. Joe talks about his daughter. And I think what he has taught me the most about that community is with nonverbal folks, right? You can't talk to her, right? She doesn't respond to you. And how do you know how she's feeling or what she wants? Very similar to concrete, you got to touch it, you got to feel it. Yep. You know from your body, and from a finisher, you always talk about riding on the trowel or on your bull float. Like ball bearings.
There's a feel.
There's a ball bearing. Like you could just tell something was different. I was talking to a gentleman this morning. You could just tell when that mud is coming down the chute. You can hear it. Is it bony? Is it slick? I mean, there's just a difference. So it was fascinating early on that we found this product that $1 billion company made and supplied to multiple industries. We had learned through this process that other large chemical admixture companies tried it.
Oh yeah,
they tried it. They tried to put colloidal silica, this solution into the truck. But how did they do it? They put it in the front.
It's all sequencing.
All sequencing. So they put it in the front of the load, like all admixtures typically do, right? And if you put colloidal silica in the front of the load, what's it do? It agglomerates, right? It just soaks up all the water and turns into cottage cheese. And so, it was a blessing in disguise, probably from God, that on that day that you climbed up into the ready mix truck and I'm going to throw this 5-gallon bucket in here and see what happens. You actually signed some paperwork, I think, to not.
Yeah, the ready mix producer wouldn't allow me to put it in the truck unless
you're paying for this truck if something goes wrong. So yeah, you added quite a bit of this liquid into the truck, but it pumped, it poured, and you knew. At that point there was a light bulb that gone off. So to Joe's point, he put it in hundreds of thousands of yards just trying to prove it to himself. And then the only way that we could really bring it to the industry was what? Through testing. Oh, ASTM testing.
That's all we do.
All the reporting, all the, engineers, just like y'all, are risk averse, right? And they're not going to do anything unless you got the C494s and you got all the other testing. So we went through that gauntlet and we got all the reams of paper. And I think the turning point for us was when the liquid, the product that was a staple in multiple industries, we looked at the manufacturer and Joe said, hey, I like what this product does for me, but can we change it?
Yeah, it's not working the way I want.
Is there something else that we can do to it to make it work better? And that's when Joe put on his finisher hat and his chemical hat from Purdue and said, hey, what if we mixed a little bit of this with this? So colloidal silica, and we can have a little one-on-one with what this liquid is. But if you Google it, if you chat it, it'll tell you everything about it, right? It's made by the nanoparticle size. And so when you take one size and put it with another size and this modification, it's pretty fascinating what it can do in the concrete mix. And so, through Joe's sandbox in our lab, started kind of just mixing and blending and figuring out what worked and what made things sticky and what made things loose. So that was the kind of the catalyst of where this came from. And then I think over the last 5-6 years, it's just honestly taken off like wildfire. And so a small little group in central Indiana, Midwest blue collar guys, we kind of broke into it and put some patents on it. You know, we had a good friend of ours in Chicago, as a lawyer, and told us, "Hey, boys, you got something." We were like, "Well, what do we got? We don't make this product. We've developed, you know, some blends for it, but we don't make it." And he said, "Hey, it's actually a process patent. You're putting it in the back of the truck, and that's a patent." So, claim to fame is this guy over here. You know, patented a $1 billion product into the concrete industry, and so everybody's got to go through us now, which is pretty funny. So that kind of brings us up to where we are here today.
Yeah. So Ryan has talked to Kevin. He said it sounds like you guys have a lot of issues with surface delamination, scaling, pop outs. My question to you is, what other problems are you guys seeing as increased since you guys have seen the changeover from cement chemistries? Shrinkage cracking, plastic, or just plastic shrinkage? Anything else? Crazy.
A lot of surface issues.
So it's just basically all surface. You guys notice a lot of the like closing up harder, stickiness, things like that,
Yep.
stickiness.
So are most folks in here contractors, finishers? Any like, show of hands? Who's a contractor? Who's a finisher? All right. Who's ready mix?
There's
All
my
right.
people.
Engineers? Any engineers in here? Any cement guys? No cement folks in the room, Joe. That's shocking.
No.
I thought they would all be here, to be honest with you.
No.
To help us out, kind of lead us and coach us.
No.
It's all good. The last podcast that just dropped, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we do take a little target on Lafarge and some of the things that were done out in the Middle East just recently. So you might want to watch that one. But we do have a nice target on our backs as we tried to bring honesty, transparency. You know, as we've traveled the country and worked with finishers and ready mix guys and everybody, it's like Joe always says, E5 isn't the solution. It's not the only solution, right? As a industry, we've got to work together, from engineers, ready mix guys, finishers in the fields. Everybody's got to come together and say, okay, how can we make this target smaller?
Yeah. So what I built this upon is my relationship with a ready mix producer. That to me they're just my hero. Shelby Materials is just great. I'm glad I worked with them and I didn't work with someone else, because they actually showed me what unity of a partnership could be in an industry. So the ready mix producer worried about me going home, which that was great.
Timing.
And wanting to know what my problems were, and they built around me. They didn't build around themselves. They built around me as a finisher, because they knew if I stayed in business, they stayed in business. So they were always calling me and asking my opinion. Hey, we're getting ready to change aggregates. Hey, we're getting ready to change this or change that. They were very open in communication all the time. Mm-hmm. I love that. And then when I got onto this side of the table, and I thought, dear God, everybody's probably like this. Like, everybody's probably working together like this. I didn't realize how fractured the industry was, how everybody was standoffish and just pointing fingers at each other. And I'm like, good Lord.
Risk averse, right? We're trying to protect our own.
And I'm like, there's only so many concrete finishers in the world. And I don't see a lot of, kids 18, 19, 20-year-olds standing at the line going, hey, I want to sign me up for that.
Yep.
No, I don't see that. We're going to have a challenge here in the next 10 years. There's not a whole lot of people coming up in the industry. Mm-hmm. But we got to figure out how to make things better for them to want to do or want to pursue a craft that is dying. That's what we have to do. And by not understanding the placement of concrete, you can just throw the mixes together, do what you want, get your PSI, great, awesome, glad you got it, but doesn't mean it was finishable. Doesn't mean it was workable for that guy in the field, so that he doesn't have to do or forced into a situation to make a mistake. And that's what we're forced into sometimes, is to make a mistake. And so to answer your question, stickiness, which I run across this a lot. When concrete is sticky, we now know through a lot of research that the water reducers, PCEs, lignin sulfonates, melamines, all those things, they have a pot life now. We didn't really have to worry about a pot life with type 1 because they were engineered for type 1. That's what they were made for. they've never really looked at how do I need to engineer the actual chemical now to the new cement. Yeah, we pulled off a certain amount of the clinker, and now we're adding into this dust of limestone, but it's inert.
Which used to be waste product, right?
Yeah, it used to be waste. But now, are we overdosing our water reducers because we don't have as much clinker to reactor with? Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. So when we don't actually know the ag moistures and we guess and say, oh, well, hold back 6 gallons or hold back. The other day I had a guy holding back 12 gallons of water per yard. I'm like, no, you just cause a problem with this guy out in the field by holding that water back. Give him his water. Give it its water. Don't hold it back. I understand the schedules. I see the complexities of the logistics of ready mix. I understand it totally, very, very educated in that. But at the day, you got to guess better. Don't open that guess up so wide that you have to add more chemical to get the slump. Give it its water, and then that stickiness will go away.
And that pot life?
Pot life right now with a PCE with limestone cements at 10% and above has decreased in pot life by 30 minutes. So we used to see PCEs last out an hour and a half. Now we're getting them at an hour, and they're done. So if you got a 30-minute drive time, 30 minutes that pot life's already gone. And then you got to place it within that next 30-minute window. And by the time you get it placed and you're starting to bull flake and you're starting to finish, that flocculation that chemical was doing to keep the cement grains apart has now started to reconnect, kind of like the magnets. You take the magnets, you push them together, they won't stick. But you flip them, they'll come together. That's exactly what the water reducer is doing. At first, it makes everything stay apart. And then all of a sudden, it wears off, connects. Now the cement and everything's starting to agglomerate, and you're starting to feel that stickiness. That is not all the time an environmental issue. It's just where the chemical's starting to wear off. It needs adjusted. They need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to extend that pot life past your point of placement. Then that stickiness will go away. The only other way to get that stickiness is to reduce the amount of water reducer you're in, and then that will help that stickiness. So not all the stickiness is from evaporation or things like that. It's just a chemical dilemma we're in until they understand what the effects of this limestone actually is.
So potentially reducing the water reducers, right? The amount per hundredweight.
Correct.
Would help that. Would adding water help that at all?
Well, you got to give it its water. So, I was always taught, we used to hold back 2 or 3 gallons, but when you're holding back 6, 10, 8, 12, Lord, you're just asking for the finisher to have an issue.
And then the driver's temping the load for the most part, right? I want a 5 slump, 6 slump, 7 slump.
We know that the water demand in our local area right now is about 2.5, 3 gallons of extra water. That's what we're seeing our water demand in our cements. That's at 10%. That's not a number made up. That is literally a factual number that we know. And we know that through a lot of flow table testing and everything, what that cement's actually doing.
So there's typically 4 things I think that we talk about the industry trying to solve problems, right? Water's one of the solutions that that would help the mix design, right? Adding more water. Water cement ratios should have increased with the blend fineness of our cements, right? More powder, more water. I think other things like the more admixture. How many water reducers and viscosity modifiers have been introduced in the market over the last 5 years? Just dozens upon dozens, and new ones come out every day. Curing. Let's talk about curing for a second. It's probably the most talked about things because when something fails, when concrete fails, right? We have curing. Well, you didn't cure it right.
Well, I would like to.
Mr. Finisher.
We've probably brung that conversation up more now than ever because of what we named it internal curing. We named it internal curing because we knew that it was holding more of the water in the internal side of this to allow for the hydration process to be extended and build a more denser matrix. We knew that. And then Purdue validated that. We didn't set out to meet an ACI requirement 308, what lightweight aggregates and all this other stuff that they've got defined as internal curing. There's other ways of internal curing besides what they've defined. They've just decided to, hey, let's just define that, and that's the only thing internal curing is. No, that's not it. And we're just doing it in a different way. Our aggregates are suspended in a solution. We are little bitty pieces of sand floating in a solution.
Nano aggregates.
At a nano level. So if the circumference of your hair is 175,000 nanometers in circumference, our particles are anywhere from 15 to 20 nanometers. That just tells you how small we are. And each one of those little particles are going in between the cement grains and packing those grains in between there, and that's what makes it dense and hard. Well, then what happens is when you create that that place where bleed water would go straight up and down in the capillaries, we're actually making it, tortuosity is the term, we're making it harder for that bleed rate to go in and stay in there longer and building more nucleation sites. So you're building more paste, keeping more water in the mix, controlling the bleed rate. When you control the bleed rate, you control the outcome of finishing. So if I can keep the bleed rate there and down and inside the matrix, then versus where we've changed the bleed rate with 1L cements, where it bleeds slower and you're trapping the bleed rate under there sooner than possible. So I asked Ryan a question. Do you guys use Fresnos? I'm gonna tell you right now, just stop. 1L will not accept it because the bleed rate, you're having to do that much sooner with 1L because it's drying out faster. But what you're doing, you're actually trapping that bleed water right underneath it. And it's not there. Your grace window's gone.
And what happens when you trap the bleed water?
Well, it delaminates.
Yep.
The water's there. But you, with type 1, you guys had grace. Bleed rates were much faster. They were getting out of there so you could do that. I used to do it. I mean, I used to use a Fresno all the time on certain things. There's a timing to it. But our timing's gone now. Your 1L does not allow you to use that. It's gone. So, there's certain people now wanting to go back to wood bowl floats because of the bleed rate. Why you want to go back to a wood bowl float? Opens it up more, allows the bleed rate to get out faster. So if you're going to do that, you have to change these different things, what we used to do versus what we didn't used to do. So my advice, Fresnos are just, you're screwing yourself when you start doing it. I know it looks pretty. I know the broom all looks good, but you're actually hurting yourself. And that's not a ready mix issue. That's just the cement industry not educating us on that material, on the changes of what we needed to change in our timing of our field. That's not a mix issue. That's literally just a bleed rate change that we cannot control. It's controlled by the finuses and the limestone content of that cement.
Now, so we talk about curing in general, right? Water curing, you mentioned water curing early, wet curing. Anybody wet cure anymore? Hey, we got one guy. Hey, well, okay, that's good. Curing compounds. I know, a lot of documents these days point to curing compounds. Well, you didn't put your curing compound on. I mean, does everybody use curing compounds? Always? All right. And you see them to be effective? Or you just do it because you're told? Yes, sir. White pig? Yep. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about DOT for a second, right? I mean, NDOT, 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, so in 2020, I started working with the DOT. I did not chase down DOT work because they think inside of a box and testing rules that world. They can't even get out of their own way because they're just so indoctrinated with these ASTM testing and data. I mean, it's great to be in a lab, 70 degrees and 50% relative humidity, and great.
Get the cylinders out of the tub.
Awesome, but
right?
That's not real world. So when they actually sought me out because they heard about what we were doing in the commercial world, to where we wasn't using wet cure. We wasn't using curing compounds. Guys were having just as much success with it of using these additives because it was keeping the water in. And how we proved all that was through abrasion testing. Abrasion testing is the one true test that will tell you how long your surface is actually going to last. It's not a compression strength. I ain't going to tell you how long my surface is going to last. It's not a flex test. It's not a shrinkage test. It's things like abrasion. I don't even put a lot of validity in freeze thaw. It's just telling me that my air is in place and I get good spacing. Awesome, your aggregate's halfway good. Doesn't tell me how long my surface is going to last. But abrasion will. Abrasion will tell me exactly how long that surface is going to last. And I started looking at abrasion tests. So I started introducing abrasion testing to NDOT. They never heard of that test. They were just more break it, flex it, good, open the bridge.
One test.
And then testing down at, and then it was like, well, why is our surface failing? It's because no one's paying attention. So I told him, I said, if you couldn't have an open mind, I don't want in this game. I'm like, not getting into this because you're wet cure. You're not wet curing right. You guys are not wet curing at all right. You're putting it on way too early. There's a timing to wet cure. You got to allow that thing to off gas, bleed out, and then you need to let it set for a certain amount of time before you put the burlap blankets on and dripping water on it so you don't affect the actual water cement ratio at the surface. I've got petrographic analysis tests that we've done over the years that if you put wet cure on too early, it'll actually dilute the paste around the sand particles. You're exposing the sand particles. Because at the end of the day, the water that you're putting on the surface never meets the internal mechanism of the concrete, where I need the hydration so that the endogenous cracking doesn't propagate to the surface.
Yep.
That's where we're falling short. We need things internally to fix the external problem. So we're trying to fix our external issues that are really internal issues. That's what we're doing. That's what we're missing. And no wet cure, no curing compound is going to fix your internal issues. You can't do it at all. It's like trying to fix your own insides from the outside. It's not going to work. Doctor's got to go in. Got to fix the inside so that it shows up on the outside. So I learned that real quickly when I started getting involved in this. I'm like, bingo. Because if it cracks internally, it propagates externally, everything comes in. But if I can take care of here, start creating more hydration, more glue, more CSH to overcome the strain and the stresses, I crack less crazing, less plastic shrinkage cracks,
permeability.
All that starts to get better at the surface. Curing compounds are a timing issue too. You put them on too early, you can trap the bleed water. Then how do you know you're putting it on at 200 square foot or 300 square foot a gallon?
Per gallon, yeah.
You're guessing. But then when I had a problem with my concrete and I'm going, man, I've done everything right. I didn't put water on it, but it still did it. And then I would have these conversations. The first thing a petrographer or anybody says, should have cured it better. I get so aggravated over that statement. What do you mean cure it better? I mean, we did. Well, what it is, it's a blanket statement. It's the get out of jail free card. You didn't cure it right. How do you prove you cured it right? How do any of you finishers prove that?
The potential of the cement, right?
Well, ACI 308 says curing defined as reaching the maximum potential of the actual mix.
Well, what's the maximum potential?
I don't know. You tell me. I couldn't tell you.
Right.
People just say 4,000 PSI. Great, awesome, but I can hit 4,000 PSI, but my surface still fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a conundrum.
No, it's insane. We keep doing the same thing, expecting the same result, and we just keep doing the same thing. Well, I'll cure it better. Well, what are you going to do? Dump a whole 55-gallon jug on it? I mean, it's still going to crack because it's internal stresses. You have internal stressing. ACI defines curing as retaining moisture and temperature. There's where no one talks. The actual temperature. Yeah, we can control the moisture, but if you're not controlling the temperature too, still have a problem. Because it gets too hot, then you get thermal cracking. That's one thing I've taught the DOT. I said, we still wet cure our overlays. I told them, don't ever take wet cure away from overlays. I don't care what technology it is, you cannot take wet cure away from an overlay because it's too thin. It has to have that temperature control. That's the only reason you use it. So if we're going to do an overlay, first thing I tell them, I said, check the temperature of the water before you put it on the surface of the concrete, and check the surface of the concrete to maintain so that you're less than 20 degrees Fahrenheit of each other. Because if you throw it on too cold, it'll shock it. Crazing and everything will appear. Everything about concrete is about timing. It's all timing and controlling the timing. We really don't have a finishing issue as much as we all have a timing issue. And how hard is timing in the field? I think it's literally impossible to hit. Personally, I've never been able to hit it. And I've poured a lot of concrete. Timing is very hard. But our timing got worse with the changeover in cement chemistry. You guys have an uphill battle with these new cement chemistries. And the more they keep tinkering with them and the more they want to go to, the new blended cements, ASTM is going to go from that to 11-something 95 to where they blend in fly ash and slags and things like that into your cement. Man, all that's doing is changing your heat of hydration in your curves. And you guys need steady heat of hydration. You don't need the ups and downs of hydration, because that's where it's getting into your all's finishing window. So cement, ready mix, finishers, aggregate, admixtures all need to be in a room talking to each other, not pointing fingers at each other. They got to be talking. Like, look, this is what we're seeing in our testing. Be transparent. That's the thing about this industry. There's no transparency. Why? Risk. I'll say it on camera. Lawyers are the worst things that ever happened to this country. Period. They've turned this into where no one takes blame for nothing. No, there's none, zero.
Right.
But guess who's accountable for everything when you touch that concrete?
Into the handle.
You guys are. Every one of you. But that's the nature of the game. But we also need better people to help the workforce out too, to understand and have that grace too, that hey, it's not just your fault. There's things that you can't change. Now, I decided to do these type of platforms because I want to make change. I want it to change for you guys in the field. I want the ready mix producers to change. I want the cement manufacturers to change. These guys that are running around these billion-dollar companies need to share information. They need to put on programs that teach us what they're putting into the industry, how this is going to affect certain things, so we actually know what's going on. Because I like looking down at good concrete. I like looking down and seeing nice finishes and things that has been done. I mean, I
take pride in your work.
I'm a proud concrete finisher,
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
proud when I see guys' work. So that's why I decided to do these platforms. Now, I've been wanting a bunch of friends, that's for sure, doing this. But
No.
you know, if it brings change, then so be it.
Right. Like the I think y'all had a 1L cement, I think, forum maybe here recently. Was anything shared? Did y'all learn anything from that event? Did anybody go, by the way? Raise your hands. Was there a 1L cement thing? Just you guys? All right. Anything that came out of that was relevant, that was important, that would help you in the field?
I don't believe so. I think they talk mostly about finishing concrete more than anything.
Best practices of finishing?
Yeah, why we should finish concrete the way we should finish it. Mainly, we didn't stay that long, but that's mainly what it's about.
Okay. Not how the cement affects the finish timing, how the grinding aids. I mean, how many questions have you asked about mill reports? I mean, y'all know about mill reports. I mean, I don't know the ready mix guys do, but contractors, finishers, you guys know about mill reports, asking for mill reports. You know, what's in the cement, blade fineness, grinding aids, stuff that they don't necessarily list that definitely directly affects the chemistry of the mix, right?
Absolutely.
Say it again. With color.
Oh, no, it's fun. I've done a lot of stamp. I got a lot of guys who use it in stamp work. It actually enhances the color. Because no, they do not use it. They do not use cured compound. No.
So, I mean,
I got to be honest with you. In my years of finishing, I refused it. I mean, I'm not using it.
well, you were specified to use it, and you probably just left it in the
I
truck.
just carried buckets around with nothing in it, but I never used it. I always went to a plastic sheet. I was a plastic sheet guy. When I started watching the temperatures and the humidity, I guess I was kind of just not the normal type guy. I always kind of like a nerdy with numbers and understanding things. So I'd watch weather and things like that. I started, watch the temperatures. I'd tell the guys, get the plastic out, cover the top. Why we're finishing. I made my own evaporation retarder out of my Visqueen. I just didn't want things sprayed on my surface. I didn't want anybody pointing fingers back at me and going, you did this. No, I did all this. This is how I controlled it. And it still had problems. So now you tell me why. So I always carried plastic with me everywhere. I knew at 85 degrees down in Indianapolis, if it was 85 degrees and the relative humidity was 70%, I didn't need anything. I was good. Now, if it was 85 degrees and the humidity started bottoming out, I was like, nope, plastic all day. Now, when it starts getting like it is today, my advice to all you guys, and you guys probably have already done it, I'd pour as early in the morning and I'm done. I never poured anything after 10 a.m. when it got over 90 degrees. We're done. Like, you're just asking for problems when you do that.
You're going to lose it.
And that's not a ready mix guy's fault. That's not a cement guy. That's just don't do it. Because temperature, according to ACI, has to be controlled for proper curing. So if you can't control that temperature, just back away from it. Best not to jackhammer it out the next day.
Right. And I mean, and to answer your question, Joe, I mean, we get asked that a lot, right? Does with E5, with using internal cure or liquid fly ash, with using E5, do you need the curing compounds? Do you need the sealers? I mean, we don't say no, you don't need them. You can apply them, right? It's a belts and suspenders, right? In this day and age, extra is not the worst case scenario, right? I mean, what's a curing compounds? A couple cents? I mean, we're not talking, hundreds of dollars to put this stuff on, right?
I mean, you're correct, but the whole thing of it is it's timing. You just got to learn your timing. And sometimes on a job, we don't have timing. Timing's gone. It's sucked out of us, whether it's through a schedule or it's
truck
just
showing up late,
or this or that.
Right.
Our timing is just it's been closed down so much now with the changes in chemistry that we have no room for error. Zero.
Right.
We've got a company we switched to for our curing compounds called Synapse.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll put a 20-year warranty on that surface if we properly follow all the steps. But now I got this, so should I still be using they got a curing compound, but like you say, it's timing.
It's timing.
People can talk to cure as soon as possible, it's not the right answer. You gotta get out there and be able to walk on that room finish, or that cure won't work.
Yeah, and sometimes if you wait too long to get on it, it's already lost enough moisture in your problems. It hasn't showed up yet, but it's there. It just shows up later, and you're like, well, I put curing no, it was already there. You just didn't see it at that time. So
They got a second portion to it, it's called salt gutter. So what I was gonna do because I'm pouring all E5 now,
is that a siloxane?
I'm not gonna say because I'm not sure, but we can go in 5 days later.
5 days later.
And we can put that on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna put that on all my E5 compounds.
Sure. Because you have these late pours coming up to winter, right? With civil and with municipalities. I mean, they're going to salt it. They're going to put brine all over it.
I
and
can
the
tell you I got
toxin pop up.
650 bridges right now to date on the ground, and the only thing that's ever been put on it was a sheet of plastic.
Okay.
That's it. Now, Indiana went through this scaling issue here about a year ago, and come to find out the scaling issue had a lot of petrograph reports on it, and what they were seeing was excessive fines at the surface. What ended up happening was once you get to a 1L and there's a lot of fines in the blanes and you start the vibration process, lighter material goes where when you do a lot of vibration? Straight up.
Where the rocks go. Straight down.
We were seeing that the paste surface underneath where the actual coarse aggregate was about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch deep. Like it was too much. And it was getting up there, and then it was causing that light flake at the top because there wasn't no coarse aggregate below that surface, so you cause a weak fracture. And then Indiana also went to a grooving system mechanically, and they were actually starting to dislodge the aggregate, and they was misdiagnosing it as scaling and surface delamination, but what it literally was scraping from the snow plows where the aggregate was cracked. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't scaling.
Or all that cream at the top, too.
Yeah, from all that cream. It wasn't actually, it was just, so now they've changed their spec. Mm-hmm. They're backing down the vibration RPMs. Now they're saying anything over a 5-inch loop, no vibration, unless it's on the edges, because 1L has a lot more fines to bring to the surface. Mm-hmm. So again, it's a timing thing, and it's also when to do it.
Well, I think you bring up a good point. Segregation, right? I mean, when you've got heavy things dropping, lighter things moving to the top, we want to keep those aggregates as close to the surface as possible, create that series densification and durability. We're all about durability. We're not about strength. And early on when I said, colloidal silica is used as a suspension agent, that's exactly what it does. I mean, if you Purdue ran that one segregation report, it's fascinating, right? I mean, the stuff they do with backscattered imagery and all these other fancy tools. But, I mean, you can literally see the rocks that are suspended higher up into the slab cord section. It's fascinating.
Think about E5 as just putting more aggregate into your concrete, because it is. It's literally sand. So we're putting more aggregate into the system, and it's 99.9% pure silica. So we're literally putting a very dense material into a molecular system to help things stay in place. Mm-hmm. Whether that's water, whether that's sand particles, whether that's coarse aggregate or cement, we're helping things stay in place. You're keeping it packed together. So the tighter you can make something, the tighter the forces or the van der Waals forces are to keep things there to hydrate. Once it starts to hydrate and it goes from plastic to hard, things start to strengthen. And then water and everything's starting to be consumed. It's not the wonder drug. It's not going to cure everything until everybody else gets their stuff, in place. It can only fix so much. But one thing it does do is keep the water where it needs to be. My slogan early on with this is water is why. Water is why we're all in this room today. We either got too much or not enough. That's why we're in here. How do we control the water to help the concrete hydrate better, get stronger, to overcome the stresses that comes along with the cracking, overcome the plastic shrinkage that cracks, overcome crazing. Now, when you're seeing crazing, is that flat work or slab work? Both? Okay, so on slab work, is it residential? So do you black them in? So when you get to a stage, you're actually twisting the surface. You can actually cause mechanical crazing, not necessarily like concrete, like it's crazing itself. You actually can just taking it over the finish, and you're causing its own fractures, and that's a timing thing. Sometimes, I used to do it when I was finishing. Just you kind of get into a trance, back and forth when you're starting to blacken it in because you just like to see it polish. And sometimes I tell a guy, like, stop for a minute, let it breathe, let that strength come along, and then just keep going. Sometimes you can cause that yourself, and then sometimes it's just evaporation. Or you're getting settlement of aggregate and you got more paste in those areas. Those are all little things can happen. Mm-hmm. Plastic shrinkage cracks, I'm in India. We're pouring high rises in India. It's hotter in Texas. It's hotter in here. It's 106, 107 degrees. And the reason they're using it over there is because they're seeing a 60% reduction in plastic shrinkage cracks. Now, they still have them, but they're seeing less of them. So it's just putting more particles in a mix to create difficulties for the water to migrate. Mm-hmm. That's about as simple as I can make E5.
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, y'all have seen back in the day the TikTok guy that had the glass vase, right? And he'd put, golf balls in it. He's like, is it full yet? And then he put marbles in it, and then he put sand in it, and he kept saying, is it full yet? Is it full yet? And then obviously to a point where you've got different size of things in it, very similar to aggregate sieving, right? Where you're consolidating.
Ready-mix got their aggregate gradations. You get into transfer curves, things like that.
Yep.
Gap grading all your aggregates.
Nano.
I just decided to play within the paste.
You come up with 4 ounces per hundredweight, and does that ever vary?
Okay, so 4 ounces per hundredweight.
That's for internal cure.
It was an actual guess. It was in the field. It was when we first started. We were on a job site, and we were pouring a big footing. It was a 500-yard footing. And I said, hey, let's start out with each truck, and we're going to do a different dosage rate on each truck, and we're going to make 12 cylinders on each truck. And we're going to see which one's, the best. And that's how we came up. 4 ounces always performed repeatedly better, like at the top of the bell curve.
Yeah.
And I've been as high as 330 ounces per hundredweight. And then you just start to see everything just start going this way. It's too much. You're getting too much particle, and it's just too packed. 4 ounces became the norm because it was the best benefit for cost. It was the best benefit for the brakes that stayed either neutral or better. And after Purdue proved out the theory through SEMs and everything, how dense the paste was, 4 ounces just seemed to be the right to whether you could err on this side or you err on that side. 4 ounces just became that. That's how we come up with it.
And then obviously liquid fly ash being 8 ounces.
No huge science project. It was just on a job site and say, hey, let's just take these trucks and do it. And then as we've gone around the country, 4 ounces has always performed well. And now I have learned through there that when I look at mill reports and I look at limestone contents now and this and that, I got some ready-mix producers that are only using 2 ounces. But they did their due diligence. They'll use 2 ounces in a driveway here, and then another producer's using a different cement guy, he's using 4. And I've got another guy that's using 6. They're messing with their material. I just give them the start here see which way your material is going to take it, one way or the other.
And a couple of ready-mix producers there in Central Indiana are using LFA on their daily, right? They're just putting
Yeah, that's
liquid
just
fly
their
ash in everything,
that's just their
not
residential.
charging the consumer or the customer at all.
It's their risk mitigation
Yes.
for those customers.
Producing tear-outs. All right, we're hit about an hour here. We've been talking. What are we missing?
Are you tired?
Oh, we can go on forever. You know us. We talk too much.
Okay, so you got
Do it.
a mix with E5, you got a mix with E5. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, 99% of the boards we're using vibratory tools, right? So
Right.
one without it, aggregate just dropping. With it, with the E5, aggregate, are we claiming that aggregate stays?
Correct. It's more suspended. So the test he's referring to is a Purdue test where we did Dr. Tyler Lay's box test. So it's a 1 foot by 1 foot tall box, and you put the mix inside that box, and then you drop the vibrator in and pull it out. So it's 3 in, 3 out. And then you can look at how that packs and this and that. Well, I decided to take it a step further. Make that same box, take that same mix, but let's abuse it. So let's stick it in 5 times, and each spot we put it in, hold it for 20 seconds. So it was over 100 seconds of vibration. Well, we all know what that's going to do to rocks. Sink them. Well, when you seen the study, we had 30% more aggregate at the surface with E5 than we did actual no E5. So it helps suspend those in. So when I presented that to the state of Indiana, I said, look, your over vibration problem is better. You have better timing now. So if the guys are going to over vibrate, you still have some risk management left in the tank when you're using it. Just on that merit alone on a bridge helps the actual end product by just keeping the rocks floated up. But the reason they're floating is because of the water inside the cement is not leaving. It's just keeping everything in its place. So that's pretty extreme test, 100 seconds in a 1 foot box. But all that data is shareable. So if you guys give me your email's address, I'll send it all. But I'm the most transparent guy there is. I'll send you every research paper I've got or done, whether E5 did good or bad. You guys got to be able to make your decision on good data. And you can't make it on data that's always, oh, well, that stuff's great all the time. No,
Nope.
it's not. No, I'm not buying it. Huh? Oh, I see failure. Yeah, I mean, we come across it, but we're very due diligent about what the failure is. So when you look back to it, most of them failures come from an imbalance. What I'm seeing now across the country from what people are doing, they're wanting to add 2 or 3 water reducers. I'm like, good Lord, people, they don't need no more chemical. I mean, get it out. So most of my advice is pull it all out. Just get it out, start back with your basics, get it to the water slump, and then add your water reducer if you need a little bit more. Just don't add the water reducer to get your slump and then hold the water back. That's where the problems are happening. Because when you don't have enough water, you putting that cement into a dehydration mode. Autogenous cracking starts. I know ACI says 0.38, stuff like that. They get into all that, but I think that stuff starts happening in any of these mixes from 0.45 and down. Because our cements have changed and they're so much finer than them rules were set. I mean, for God's sake, some of the data that's in these ACI manuals are from the 60s. Well, dear God, it's not even the same cement. It's not even the same aggregate. So how can I even go off that? So we've had to change all that stuff and realize that some of this is just not having enough water in the mix. Yeah.
So you're talking about this E5 that you're packing it in and increasing the density of all these particles. How does that work in conjunction with air entrainment with E5 then?
Okay, so with air entrainment, you're actually allowing for a better spacing. So I think the spacing particle is 0.008 or 0.08 is what they want to keep that spacing. We see a more reliable spacing factor when you're starting to put that in, and more stable air is what we've seen.
Even with pumping,
Yeah.
right? Like in Indiana.
Yeah.
You get a giant pump contractor and loves using.
Now, what we do see, air becomes real unstable when they start adding 2 or 3 water reducers. It's like, all
There's a
right,
common theme here.
what's the issue? There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of chemistries going on there. Like the other day, Texas, we got a big data center. The finisher was complaining it's setting too fast. E5's making it set too fast. I said, well, dear God, it's always E5's problem. So let me figure this out. So I got the technical data sheets of the 2 water reducers. I started looking at the 2 water reducers. Well, that ain't a water reducer. That's the same genetic code of a non-calcium chloride. So I pulled out an old non-calcium chloride SDS sheet. It was the exact same thing. One company was just calling it a water reducer. I'm like, how do you do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're putting sodium thiocyanate, calcium nitrate in a water reducer and calling it a water reducer when that's the genetic code of a non-calcium chloride. No wonder it's setting. Take it out. So as soon as they took it out, bingo, everything's great. Everybody's moving along. Mm-hmm. So it's just, we're not understanding the chemistries chemical companies are handing us. Man, I feel sorry for some of the ready mix providers not being educated from the chemical manufacturer of what they're actually putting in the concrete. They just like, no, just put this in, it makes the flow. I mean, we're now in an age that we're going to have education in chemistry. We're going to have education on how all these works, because we're not going backwards. We're not going to go back to old-fashioned cement, water, stone, and aggregate. Them days are gone. It is now the chemical age, unfortunately, but that's where we're at. I try to get as much out of there as possible so you can eliminate the issues of when the issues happen. So the less I got in it, it's easier to diagnose what the actual issue is. So I think a lot of these chemicals are going in because they just need to sell product. Mm-hmm. That's what they're built off of. They're a gigantic elephant that needs fed. And that's a lot of money they got to
similar to the pharmaceutical industry. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's the same thing as pharmaceuticals.
Right.
A couple months here, we'll be running into colder weather.
Yep.
A lot of us keep continuing to pour. What is your recommendation? Chloride, 85. How do those counteract each other?
So you would use less chloride. And the reason why you use less chloride is because the particles, remember, he called them the dispersion agents.
Suspension.
They like to disperse and suspend. So when they're in there, they like to attach to other chemistries and push them around. They're like taxi cabs. Like, you all need to go over here. I'm going over here. They're like directors.
Nice.
They're always moving themselves. So we found that, hey, 2%, you can get the same reaction out of 1.5. So it actually enhances the efficiencies of different admixtures. Colloidal silica, it was first used in the paper mills, like he was saying. 95% of all colloidal silica in the world is used in paper.
By the rail car.
And then the next biggest user is paints and epoxies. Mm-hmm. If you're epoxying garage floors, you're using colloidal silica because it's in there. It helps disperse the color. It helps disperse the paints and the pigments. But then those type of colloidals will not work in cement because the way they're manufactured, because they're all manufactured with a certain charge, certain size, certain surface area. So when we started dealing with it, we had a lot of issues up front, but then we had to go through different renditions of silica to figure out what actually worked in cement to get that same effect as the other industries were using colloidals. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it would help enhance those. And actually, non-chloride, I'm not a big fan of it because I like to things set and you got to use too much. We find that we don't have to use as much non-chloride. So when we get into freeze-resistant concrete, you guys probably have used, you guys probably call it someone else up here, freeze-resistant, or you guys use that? So down home, we got a mix called freeze-resistant. So what it is, it's like 10% non-chloride in a mix. And then as long as it's 20 degrees and rising, they'll pour it, we warranty it, you don't cover it, just move on. But it's a high dose. So we've learned that we don't need that much dosage now with these type of particles because they're creating better nucleation sites and controlling that water for hydration. So then it makes it more friendly when you start getting into those higher dosage rates of admixtures. The only thing that colloidal does not like working with is old retarders. It just doesn't like sugar because it doesn't want to be told what to do. Colloidal wants to go in, create hydration, and it doesn't like sugar. That's what old retarders were, just sugars.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I use Mountain Dew as my retarder a lot. 2 liter of Mountain Dew go a long way in a couple yards of concrete.
That's right.
So up here we got a lot of problem with soft rock, shale.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel there's any advantage with this E5?
No, I don't think there's any chemical out there that when you get into that, it's just a difficult beast to handle when you start getting into those soft aggregates. A lot of that comes into how do you get a cleaner ag. I mean, yeah.
I
Now,
just thought maybe this would make the surface harder and less.
it does. It makes that surface harder, but that shell rock is just it's hard to get inside internally. I mean, you're literally got to figure out how to reinforce those aggregates, and I just don't see anything even in the future right now except for cleaning. And if you clean your aggregates more, it costs more money to the producer, and then everything goes up. So there's them guidelines they got in the ASTM and the ACI about how much of those percentage of contaminants you're allowed in your aggregates. It's hard to control, extremely hard.
They're just soft aggregates. Nothing you can do about it.
How about your sealer? You guys got a sealer too, don't you? Like
Yeah, it was an accident. It was actually a block sealer. I was messing around with it, and I was at home spraying some block wall because the guy told me it was an old block sealer. I was spraying it, just seeing what it would do, and it spilled on my garage floor. I wiped it up. I noticed after it started to dry, I seen it getting shiny. I don't know what the crap's that. So I went over and took my high-speed buffer, and I started buffing on it. And it just got shinier and shinier, and I'm like, what the crap is this? So I went to where I got my chemistry stuff done. I said, hey, I need to know what this stuff is. So we broke it all down. It was just an old acrylic silicone-based block sealer. And then I tore it back down, shortened the strains on the chemistry, and then added nanoparticles to it and everything. I said, all right, how do we protect the skin of the skin? Like, my skin's good, it's waterproof and everything, but every once in a while I got to put something over it to protect it, like, a little sunscreen. I don't want to get something on that. So I called it a sacrificial layer. Use a lot of that in like pickle, vinegar, places like that. It helps with that resistance of staining on
Very
grocery
acidic
stores,
environments.
acidic
Yeah.
environments,
Yeah.
things like that is where, like, put that on there because I don't care what you do. Pickle juice and vinegars.
That's
and,
E5 Protect you're talking about, right? Yep.
Yeah, that stuff is. But you can use it. I've
Exterior.
used it outside. I've got guys that use it for whatever.
We do it days after pouring.
I mean, I got guys that put it on their boots. They waterproof their boots with it.
you guys aren't affiliated with Spray Lock, are you?
No. Okay, so Spray Lock is they call it colloidal silicates. Okay, so that is not possible. It's chemically impossible. Silicates survive at a pH level 11 and above. A true colloidal can only survive
Silica.
10.8 and down, silica. So C's are 10.8 pH down.
Cates.
Silicates are 11 and above. So the two biggest differences, pH, and the next one is Spray Lock is solution based. There's no particle. There's nothing in it. It's just like sugar and water. Stir sugar, it's gone.
It dissolves.
It dissolves. There's nothing there. Silica actually leaves you a present. It leaves you the aggregate within the mix.
That's why a silicate has to be removed prior to adhesives and
Yes.
flooring going down, right? Because it does not work in
Does
the
not
pH
work.
realm. Silicas, on the other hand,
It leaves a particle
absorb adhesives, water-based adhesives, like the silica packets in your Amazon boxes, right? It just sucks that water in. So if you're ever putting adhesive or tiling down, throwing E5 in the mix, as that colloidal rises to the surface, that surface is just hungry and thirsty for those water-based adhesives.
Yeah, I used Spray Lock back in my finish days when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hospitals guys were wanting to use it as a moisture mitigation topping slab.
Well, that brings up another fun point. Back 6-8 years ago when we first started doing this, we were this redheaded stepchildren of the industry, right? What is colloidal silica?
Still are.
I mean, right. But then you've got folks like, Day One, right? Day One comes out with the colloidal finishing aid. You've got Green Umbrella and Green Ice, and you've got all these companies now that are saying, oh yeah, I think this works now. And what we've seen and we've heard from finishers across the country is what they didn't necessarily do. Some of those other companies, they pivot with the new 1L cements. And so now throwing some of that China-based colloidal silica or inferior colloidal silica on the surface is starting to really make it sticky, agglomerate, and they didn't shift, with the material changes.
If you guys used Day One, and you guys used it Day One,
Yeah.
Have you guys?
It
used
worked. It worked.
Yeah.
Early on, it worked.
I will tell you, it's not that it doesn't work. What happens is the chemistry hasn't changed yet.
Right.
think of it, if you ain't got no clothes on, you're going to get sunburned. But you got to put something over to keep yourself from getting sunburned. So when we started to see the change, it was time to modify. It's like, all right, how do we keep these particles from reacting too quickly to cause the agglomerations or the stickiness that you might feel with that type of material? Well, now you got to put a protective coating around that material. So you have to figure out, like, all right, what do I put around that to cause a time release so that it gets through that stage of hydration and then it starts to release so it doesn't cause you. My whole thought process in chemistry is, one, I learned it from Shelby. All right, the finisher's number one. How do you build this chemistry to get through his stages of finishing so then the concrete can do what it needs to do? Because if concrete is changing in the middle of your finishing, you're done.
Luck. Good luck.
There's no cure. There's nothing in the world gonna fix it. Sorry, it's already gone. But you got to figure out how to give that window for these chemistries to last long enough to get past your finishing window to your last broom or your trowel machine's done, so then the concrete can take off. So you got mixing, dormancy, and you need that dormancy stage to last as long as possible, and then initial set into final set and density. I'm always playing in this window down here, dormancy. You guys got roughly about 2 to 4 hours to get stuff in place, done, bull floated, or broomed. But then once it goes into initial set, then you got your trowel machine. Got to get past all those stages with chemistry so that you guys don't have the issue. That's what's going on. Everybody's staying here in dormancy and all their products are reacting here. They need to be reacting here.
Do y'all deal? Well, I know we talked about curing, moisture mitigation, right? With some of the flooring things that we've dealt with colloidal silica and E5. Waterproofing. Anybody deal with waterproofing at all? No waterproofing jobs?
I would probably say
Good.
not.
We don't even need to talk about that. All good.
Mostly cold weather here.
Yeah, that's true. But big tanks, big water tanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, any other questions? I mean, we don't want to leave you all hanging. We've discussed a whole bunch here in the last hour and a half, hour 20 minutes. We can go on and on about colloidal and E5. So, go ahead.
So basically using the E5, which I've been doing lately, follow the same protocol, saw cutting, same spacing, 2.5 times the thickness. None of that's gonna change.
I mean, I wouldn't do what Ryan did, wait too long, because a lot of times you'll burn through those blades.
Well, we'll tell you
if you
saw
wait
cutting,
too long.
But you're speaking two different things. So with type 1 cement,
True.
if you waited longer than 18 hours, I burnt through blades too quickly. Now with type 1L, I can wait past that 24-hour window a little bit, and it doesn't burn my blade, but I won't ever go past that window. But when we were pouring big slabs, we would cut release cuts, just till we could get back the next day. But when we got back there, we'd go through some blades because it got hard quick, because you got extra sand, you got extra particle.
So we've been pouring this last couple of days. It's been pretty warm.
Mm-hmm.
And pouring at 6 in the morning, riding power trawls on slabs that you would have never brought one out for 20 years ago. And finishing with a hard trawl finish by 11 a.m. done. Going back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with B5 in it, and saw cutting a 14-inch walk line. Saw, no chipping, no nothing. The shit gets hard. Is it something to do with the E5?
Go back to that particle packing thing. So the more you're putting into that space, the more tight everything's getting, and you're getting crisper lines, you're getting things, and it's the aggregates, the interlocks. You're getting better interlocks. I'd love to demonstrate it for you, but I can't. So if you actually take the liquid itself, E5, and you just table salt, just throw it in it, you'll see it gel instantly. That's what the concrete's doing, and that gel's going throughout all that concrete. That gel's the actual sand particles that are all linked together, and it's creating that gel network over everything. So that's why it's getting so hard, because that gel gets hard like cement, because it's reacting with the calcium ions. That's why it's getting hard quicker. So it doesn't change set times. A lot of people will think it doesn't. I mean, I have done thousands of calorimetry. It does not change the set time. It doesn't increase it. What it increases is the speed at which the density develops. That's what it's changing. quicker.
Yeah, we've had people polish floors days, within 24 hours in some cases. I mean, we did a demo that, well, I mean, we wouldn't suggest it, but 24 hours after a pour, polish the floor.
I've learned a lot. A lot of the stuff that E5 has claimed or doing in the industry, I learned from finishers. I get feedback from you guys, and it's like, well, I didn't know it did that. I need to try that myself. So one of the big parking garage builders down in Indianapolis, they asked me for a 5-gallon jug of internal cure. I was like, what are you doing? I go, let me try this first. So when they're doing the parking garages, they like to go back and they like to rub all the walls and things like that. But it never matched color. There's always different colors. So when they were grinding, they were using dust collectors and they were collecting all the dust. Then they would take that dust and then they would mix the E5 with the dust and then they would put it back on. I'm like, well, that's pretty ingenious. That stuff's been on there now 8 years. And it's the same color. So that's what they do. And I thought, well, I never would have thought about that. But they did. So now I was like, yeah, you can use it for that too. I mean, it likes calcium. It likes the salts in the cement. So it bonds. I've got guys that's used it in tile grout.
Do you think it's setting faster with E5?
Well, like I said, faster, I don't think this concrete's, Portland's being warehoused right now. You stick your hand in that mud and it's hot.
Oh, it's hot. It's warm.
But it's getting harder to surface. I use the old thumbnail. I have 3 years.
Yep.
Saw cutting. Shit's freaking hard. But earlier in the year before we were introduced, before I talked to you, when we didn't have this, your old thumbnail now, we can't cut that no more.
Yep.
Cut everything now, same day. You know.
We actually had to tear a piece of concrete out. We poured a stamped piece of concrete with E5 in it, and a dog got in the concrete. Got out of his cage, got in the concrete. We had to tear it out. And just from previous tear outs to that tear out, it was just coincidental that it happened because I thought, well, I wonder what it's like to tear out. Well, then we ended up having to tear one out, and you could tell the difference in just the tear out. And you could also tell if you tear out some of the old concrete, you look at that concrete, you see a lot of voids in that concrete, a lot of a lot of no density. And when we tore this out and we looked at it, we kept the pieces, 2 different pieces. And when you look at the density of it with the E5 in it, it's way more stronger, way more tighter.
Right where you saw it.
Fascinating. Yeah.
So that's the imaging that I do a lot for the DOT worlds, SEMs, and backscattering imaging. Because what they can do is look at the molecular level and see the density and the porosity at a much different level. So you can see it at a macro level because you can see it, but then they see it at that micro level. And that's the change. That's literally the change. See, concrete has always been missing certain pieces. Yes, we can get the PSI. We don't need anything to chase PSI. We just move the water cement ratio around a little bit. We can get what strength we need, add a little bit more powder, but then when you add more powder, you add more problems. But we can play that. We get the PSI whenever we want. It's not rocket science. If you got a low water cement ratio, you're ultimately going to have a higher PSI, and then you got to put water reducer in to get the workability, and then the problems start to come. When I was working with my ready mix producer, the one thing I told him, if it says 4,000, I don't want 6. And I don't want 55. I want somewhere between 4 and 5. Because every time you raise that safety factor on me as a finisher, you raise my cracking potential. And you also raise my plastic shrinkage crack potential. So if we can please keep that between 4 and 5 in 28 days, I will be a lot happier. But we want that 6,000 in 7 days. Like, no. You realize what you're doing? No.
We're getting letters right now from this concrete distributor saying if we use anything less than 4,500, they're saying basically no 4,000. They're saying they won't stand behind it at all. They're blaming a PSI on the failure of the concrete.
Doesn't make any sense.
We're getting letters right now from down at Concrete saying if you use a 4,000 PSI mix, that they won't warranty it. They're not going to stand behind it. They're saying that 4,000 PSI concrete is junk. They're saying they will not stand behind it.
It has to do with the water cement ratio. So we won't pour any exterior concrete that's above a 0.45 water cement.
Which is the ACI regulation. That's the typical ACI 308. That's the guidelines. That's what is that? Oh yeah, but you guys follow the ACI something batching, mixing, freeze thaw classifications. In a classification 318, I think. It's a classification because you got level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on what that's going to be. Now, and we have a couple ready mix producers in our area too. Same thing, 0.45. But then again, if you're going to do that, get me to that 0.45 with the water. Like, give me all that water, but don't play the holdback game. And you're actually giving me a 0.42, but then you're increasing the water reducer. Because at the end of the day, it's literally impossible. It's amazing that we actually get a yard of concrete to the job, but we actually get to an end game because of the complexities at a ready mix plant. I would encourage every concrete finisher to go and visit a concrete plant on their busiest day. If you could take a day off, just go visit it. Because I had to go back and apologize to a lot of my concrete producers I worked with, because when I would move my order an hour, I'm thinking selfish. I just move my concrete an hour and it'll be all right. Boy, you talk about the train wreck that you cause a ready mix plant is insane. Because now they got to look at 25 different people that they've all got schedules, and your 1 hour backing it up just caused a collision. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we need to think about that on our end, that, hey, what we do in the field also affects the concrete guys, the ready mix producers. They've got some complexity logistic issues, and they can't go out and get moisture reads every truck that comes in. And yet that's why the game is sometimes played within that guessing. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It is amazing we get it, but we just have to guess better and quit being so dependent on chemical to get us there. It's the dependency on chemical that's killing some of our finishing, is what's happening.
So give it all the water, 0.45.
Give it its water,
mm-hmm.
up to that 0.45, mm-hmm. and then if it still needs it, then add the water reducer in it. Instead of adding 8 ounces per hundredweight, you might now be down to 4. Problem solved. Mm-hmm. But holding back and increasing the chemicals is what's killing us.
Do you have a question?
How does the E5 work with slump retention? Does it help at all with that?
We see probably about a 15 to 18 minute better window with slump retention. Nothing crazy,
Mm-mm.
but just somewhere in that window.
Mm-mm.
A lot of that is because when you start gap grading, concrete gets better, flows better, things like that. So we see a better slump retention in that time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of times, I try to tell no one, I encourage everyone, if you're going to use nanoparticles, you don't need a mid-range. You literally don't. It takes care of it itself. Now, when you start getting those slumps at 7, 8, 9, like they want to do the SEC, yeah, fine, use the PCEs and things like that, but you're not going to have to use as much. Now, also, when you're not using as much chemical, the risk comes off the finisher, but the risk also comes off the producers. Like, you're not having to guess that game. You're narrowing it down to a couple set of issues versus a whole bunch of issues. Because then it just becomes a whole bunch of issues. No one knows what really happened.
Mm-hmm. Reduce the variables.
Yes,
Reduce
absolutely.
the variables. Yeah.
Have you guys done any studies with ASR at all?
Yes. There's several white papers out on Nano, on E5 and ASR. Mm-hmm. We help control it. It's not a mitigator. I don't think any product actually mitigates it because no one runs a test long enough to actually know if we mitigate ASR. We just go to 14 days, 16 days, 35 days, and then the trend's still going up after 35 days, but we do help control it. We don't necessarily get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. It consumes it.
You guys have a lot of ASR.
It consumes it.
Yeah, it shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we never had issues with it in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois. We never really had issues, but here recently we're starting to show some ASR issues.
A lot of masonry work, mortar work. Yeah.
So in my area, I'm 50 miles south here, but
Mm-hmm.
everything's got to come from 35, 45 minutes away to get to me.
Mm-hmm.
And can't stress enough to these guys to get that water right at the plant,
Mm-hmm.
and then put the E5 in.
Right.
And that's, if we could get that down, because when they do get it right, when it arrives, it's really nice to work with.
Yeah, it's the hardest complexity a ready mix producer has is water. I mean, it is literally a challenge. I really wish someone would actually pick that up and figure out a tool or a mechanism to give these guys a better window of understanding what they're dealing with. Because, I mean, I watch the dump trucks come in. Some of them are dripping and some of them are dry, and they're moving 100 mile an hour. It's not their fault. It's just the beast of the industry we're in.
Right.
We just need better tools created so that we can deliver it more repeatable each time.
Because your stuff isn't gonna work to its potential if it's not right on the tail end of that load.
It's got to be on the tail end.
We experienced that.
Yeah, if it don't go on the tail, well, okay, here's what happens. So when you got dry material and you stick colloidal at the dry material, it protects the dry material. So nothing can get to it. The reason it has to be on the back is because you're trying to protect the water. You want everything wet so it wraps around the water and pushes the water inward. That's the reason it works.
That was the aha moment.
Yes, that was the, oh, don't change anything.
That's how we put it in.
That's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
And more's not always better with nanoparticles, because you got to remember, you know, we're putting football fields of surface area in a mix, and the more you get, the more crowded it gets, and things can go the wrong way. So,
Yeah.
What's your percentage that you're selling to, like, ready-mix producers? Because obviously we're buying through the producer.
Yep.
How many, like, just, their own guys are just buying their own tool and dose of the truck themselves?
I try to avoid that at all possible.
We got to make all parties
Now,
happy.
there is one.
Yep.
There is a couple companies that are able to throw their weight around in this industry. That's the big boys,
Large
big ones.
GCs. Yep.
Everybody's at their mercy regardless. I've actually sell it to them, and then they can go deal with the ready mix guy because they got the power to do that. So when you look at the 5 big boys right now, they yeah, you guys need it, I'll get it to you. But I try not to give it to even when I was doing it for myself, I still pay the ready mix producer a certain amount of money per cubic yard to put it in, because he's got labor, he's got trucks, he's got cleanup time, he's got all that in there, and he's got to make money too. So that's how I worked that at the beginning. But right now it's 2 out of the top 5 right now that buy it directly, because they're everywhere. I mean, they're literally all over the country.
It's 100% through ready mix for the most part.
100%.
Yeah. Except topicals.
Gallon bucket, and it came out to 35, 40 miles, and really wouldn't be the time to put it in there anyway, would it?
Correct. It's best to go in at the plant. Now, when we first started, there was a lot of times that a couple of the producers we were working with outside of my network that I put it in when the truck arrived, just because of complications. And I'm going to put it in there. Politics.
Yep.
And it's
And so
you're
we can
just
put-
losing a valuable moisture at the beginning.
But there is a process that we have if you have to dose it on site for revolutions, mixing, and all that.
Now I've used it on a lot of mobile mixers. Done a lot of mobile mixing. Yep. We actually treat the water. We actually put it in the water tank. It's the last thing goes on, water. So we've done a lot of mobile mixers.
Yeah.
You guys do mobile mixers up here or anything? Nope. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for the best.
Down home, they're starting to really become popular. Well, we got too many data centers, and trucks are not available, so people are looking for
Drivers aren't available.
drivers are not available, so mobile mixers are starting to become a little hot item down there at the current moment.
I think it's coming here too slowly.
Huh?
It's probably getting here too slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we covered a lot of ground today. Do y'all feel better because of it? Hopefully, you learned a little bit. Anything we're missing out? Anything that we're not glossing over anything here. So, I mean, if you got a question, if you want to know an answer, please ask now. We are an open book. We do not hold anything back. We kind of confront everything head on. So, if you
Yeah, so liquid fly ash, I was on a bridge in 2020. Speedway Ready Mix was pouring my very first bridge deck. And the owner pulls up in her car, and she comes out of there, and she is just cussing up a storm. Madder than fire. And I was like, oh, dear God. I hope that ain't about me. And she kind of stands there next to me. She's just looking out there at the concrete. She goes, "How's this mess going?" I said, "Pretty good." So I said, "Having a bad day or what?" She goes, "Yeah, I just had to send back 9 trucks. Air. Had a Type F fly ash in it. They couldn't get the air stable." So I got off to myself and I was like, how do I fix this problem? Because we're dealing with silica, we're dealing with this, we're dealing with that. So I went back to the lab. I started mixing different particle sizes, different shapes, different sizes, different modifications, and then started looking at the chemistry of F-ash, what was in it, how it worked, and like, how do you make this stuff stable? What makes it unstable? And I started pulling those pieces that make it unstable out to put more stable pieces in. And then I took it to Purdue. I said, "I need you to validate this because I think what I can do is make this act and behave like a fly ash." And she goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So she went through her testing. She validated after 6 months. She said, "No, it's doing what you said." I said, "Good, I'll call it liquid fly ash." I've been ridiculed for that name. I've been told I was dumb, stupid, you don't know what you're doing. And I said, "Well, that's okay. We're having a conversation about it now because liquid nail's not a nail."
That's right. It's just good marketing at that point.
So it's not,
But it was
it's not
proven
fly
to
ash at all, but it has
work the same.
property. It has the properties and the effect of a fly ash or a slag or a metakaolin. Can it replace those materials? There's been in some cases that when it wasn't available, we've been able to replace it, but we have to change the mix and proportions and things to fit. It is a better enhancement to the SEMs than anything. So you can use less SEM and this together to create a better hydration curve,
More consistency. Right?
and stabilize airs.
Yep.
So that's why it was created, to help a ready-mix producer get over these air issues when you're using SCMs.
We're-
No, I got guys that, like, we're using on big warehouse slabs right now. We're using 4 ounces of LFA,
8 ounces.
8 ounces LFA, 4 ounces of internal cure, 450 pounds of cement in a slab mix right now.
Yeah.
And we're breaking about 4,800 in 28 days.
So yeah, Internal Cure was our first product that came out. Obviously, it's one size nano silica, and that's where then LFA came in, liquid fly ash, blended nano silicas in one product.
Yeah.
So
When I was growing up, I was not allowed to use SCMs when I was growing up. My father would not allow it. So
he was
when I-
adamant about several things, wasn't he?
when I started messing with him after he got out of the business and I took it over, I understood why he didn't want to mess with him real quick.
Good question.
So do you guys use a lot of it?
Well, that was 10 years ago. That was the hot topic that we could sit here and all.
Yeah.
Here, hold on, wait again. Are you that for you guys, or are you using less of it?
Yeah, we typically use about 20% replacement.
20. Yeah, so like what we were also seeing on parking garages when they were using higher dosage rates of F-ash or C-ash in these parking garages in hot days, we started seeing an increase of cracking, especially plastic shrinkage. Well, when you start looking at it, F-ash can reduce your set time, kind of like a retarder. And then if you're using a water reducer that is a retarding water reducer, you got 2 retardations going on to slow your hydration down. Then you get the sun beating down on top of the concrete. And then the concrete starts drying out top, and they start to go out and finish it. And then all of a sudden things get out of whack, and you see plastic shrinkage cracks because the bottom can't overcome the strain of the surface because it's delayed at set. So then we started pulling down the F-ash to 15%, added 8 ounces, and then all those problems started to come in because we're trying to create that bottom strength to catch up with the surface. It's all chemistry. It's all proportions and moving things around. You just can't set a mix and say that mix is going to work on a 100-degree day and that mix is going to work on a 32-degree day. It just doesn't work that way. Us finishers can't. I mean, we have to change every day. We're finishing something different every day. We're moving. We're different
Adjusting.
tool, different this, different that. So mixes kind of got to evolve a little bit with temperatures and things
Timing.
like that. Unfortunately, we just can't stay like we used to. It's changing, and no one is being open about the changes. So I haven't hit into grinding aids, which it's an industry that no one talks about. No one talks about grinding aids at the cement manufacturing plants. They use grinding aids. They're actually called cement additives or cement admixtures. It's help for the grinding process to make the grinding process more efficient so they can put out more tonnage and keep the ball bearings cleaner. Well, some of those grinding aids are made out of water reducers, PCEs. They're made out of lignin sulfonates. They're made out of TEAs, which is it's just a TEA. I just know what it is. It's a big word. But what happens is that's surface chemistry. When those things are applied, they're now laying at the surface of your cement. Then they go from there. They're blown in to a holding place, and then semis pick it up, or tankers, whatever. They go in there and they're blown, and then they're picked up, gone to the cement plant, then they're blown up. But that surface chemistry never changed. You still have those chemicals at the surface of the cement. So then you mix your mix, you put the cement in, you put the rocks, and then now you're adding more chemical in. Now you got this chemical competing with the chemical that's been grinded with, and then we're fighting for surface area, because concrete and cement is all surface area chemistries. So they're fighting. So if you've got a PCE as a grinding aid and you're adding more PCE, sometimes that mix will come out wetter. But then if this PCE wasn't formulated the same way this PCE is, then they start to compete. Then you get a problem. Grinding aids is a big issue. They changed them when they went to 1L, but they didn't tell you what they changed them to. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to. The ASTM 595 will tell you they do not have to disclose any chemical in that concrete, in that cement. None. Zero. They could put pixie dust in it, and they don't have to tell you. But you'll chase the problems down, and you'll finish the problem. Mm-hmm. I just want transparency. Like, can you tell me what that is, and then maybe we can kind of like fix that so we're not beating our heads against the wall tearing concrete out? That's all I'm asking. Yeah. Just tell me what it is. Then we can change that. We can fix that with something else, or not use so much chemical, because you already got it on the surface of the cement in the first place. Sometimes they were using, we did get this tested, they were using, in my local area, they was using calcium chloride flakes in the grinding process. And we were seeing extreme set times. Well, okay. Wow. You might not want to put that in there, because how do you judge that? How would you ever know? You don't know. Mm-hmm. They're setting, they're scrubbing it, going, why is this stuff setting? Because 1L was slowing down the set time, they were trying to find something to bring it back up. And that was when they were running 12, 13%. Can't do that. You got to tell us at least what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a whole different.
You're melting people's brains over here, Joe.
Yep.
So as a finisher and a contractor, how do you suggest closing that gap of communication from you guys sitting up there to me ordering the concrete, to the dispatch, to actually mixing in the truck? Explain to me how you would order a mix, and are you guys communicating with our local supplier about specific mix designs?
What I try to do is be the conduit to bring the conversation together so that you guys can create a relationship and talk those things through, and not positioning yourselves against one another, but then when there's a problem, it's an actual conversation of getting through the problem. So how I don't handle it like I always did. When I had a complex job, or I was just everyday concrete, I sat down with my technical guy at that time, which was Chris. I said, Chris, this is what I'm up against, this is what I'm not. I know you got certain things you got to hold to, and I got certain things I got to hold to. But I need the mix to do this. If you can make this do this, awesome. If not, how do we share in that risk to get me what I want? Because I know that's going to work or help me. Those conversations have to happen. But on that side of the table, the producer's got to be willing to sit and listen at the same time as the finisher has to be able to sit and listen, and both have to be able to take constructive criticism. I think that's the biggest part in the industry. No one wants to take constructive criticism. No one does. Well, okay, I get it. No one wants to be told they're wrong. I don't like to be told I'm wrong. But once you get over it and say, all right, I was wrong. Whew, kind of feel liberated now. I was wrong. Okay, how do we fix it? There's a satisfaction sometimes when you kind of just let your guard down and the ego drop just a little bit, and things seem to work much better when you do that. So I would definitely be having those conversations. I know time is limited with construction, and just to sit down and have a 30-minute conversation sometimes is like pulling teeth. But you got to find that time if you want that success. And that's how you'll fix it. That's how I did my whole career that way. We had hard conversations. I told my producer sometimes, I don't like the way you're doing it. And I would threaten myself, I'll go somewhere else if you don't want to change. But then I had to accept them telling me I was doing something wrong. That's where it worked. And then after we left the meeting, we were both happy and we still got the job done. But you both got to be willing to do that. And that's not easy. That is definitely not easy.
Does that help answer the question, or is that kind of leave you
No,
out there?
It does, but on the concrete company side of things, they have corporate policy.
Correct.
Sure.
Adhering to if we're gonna batch this at over X slump, we're automatically adding a water reducer. Somehow we have to override that. We don't put that water reducer in there and make our mixes our mix and get that through dispatch, who isn't at the batch plant actually making those, making those calls, I guess.
Like the plan, you'll get it. Who will know and who won't.
So this is just me. This is what I would do in that situation. I would basically say, this is my mix. I'm paying for it. I get what your all's policies are. I respect that. But somewhere along the line, I had to say, all right, I'll take the risk. That's what I want. And you guys are off the hook. Fine. If that's the way you want to play it, but that's the way I'd handle it. But I don't consider them I wouldn't consider that a very good partner. That's not working both ways. But 9 times out of 10, if I got the concrete the way I wanted it, I didn't have issues.
Ben, you
That's just my
confidence
35 years.
Confidence in your finishers too. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's a big
you
thing.
know your crews, you know your people,
Right.
you know what they're capable of doing. No one else knows your crews like you, so you know what they're capable of. I knew my crews. I knew what I could get away with, and I knew what I couldn't get away with. But if I'm buying the concrete, it's my money. I'm bankrolling the job. You're not. I'm bankrolling that, so just give me what I need. If it goes wrong, it's my fault. I get it. That's your corporate policies. As soon as you guys get on the job site, you guys are already at risk. There is nothing you're going to do to prove you did anything right, period. The documents are all set up that way. Look at ACI. It'll tell you in the front small pages. I just did a webinar on ACI 308 that's coming out. I broke the whole document down. Every chapter, every paragraph I broke down and showed everywhere that the finisher is at risk as soon as he hits the job. That document will tell you it is not responsible for the methods or the performance of that document. You're at risk, period. So you might as well take the risk and get what you want. That's how I would handle it. So if I'm bankrolling the job, it's my risk. It's my money. So now, if they don't want to do that, then they get fine. Then you're at risk. So when something goes on and I ask you to do it, then that's you put the water reducer in, then you're fine. You show me why it did, show me how it worked, and don't give me PSI either, because that's just the game. So this is me being brutally honest, and these are not easy conversations. And a lot of ready-mix guys don't want to hear that. A lot of engineers don't want to hear that. But it's the conversation that must be had for us to get through what we need to get through. So I encourage all of you, don't be afraid to have hard conversations and tell each other that you're wrong or this or that. Man, that's the only way you're going to fix anything. Or we're going to keep having these seminars like this for now until kingdom come. Because I sit and think about, for 30 years I've watched seminars go on, and we're still talking about the exact same thing. We have some of the most educated, most powerful industry in the world. We have the universities that got more money than I know what to do with. I got more PhDs running around telling me what I did wrong, but yet I can't fix a simple solution with any of their advice. Who's dumb? Me for listening. Just because you got a PhD doesn't mean you're smart. It means you just pile stuff higher and deeper. They just cover you in paperwork. Lawyers, that's exactly what they've done. PhDs, they just keep piling you in research to where you're always at risk. And I'm fed up with it completely. I don't think it's right to you guys that work in the field all day long. No, they're not working in 96-degree weather. But yet, you hold the risk.
Wow. Okay. That's a good point. Man, that got quiet at the room here.
Well, I mean, come on, be real.
Yeah.
I got sick and tired of pulling a 4-inch slump with a strike-off board. How'd I change that on a job site? Engineer come up one day. How's the mix? I don't know. You grab that board and you tell me. You designed the mix. Now you tell me what you change about it. Never thought about that. Exactly, because you've never pulled a board. So how can you design a mix that you think is going to be workable and you've never poured concrete? Okay? It's like taking advice from Oprah Winfrey about raising my kids. Didn't have kids, so I'm not going to take advice from her. Sorry, I'm starting to get...
He is getting on a tangent. Better watch
I'm
out.
frustrated at the industry sometimes.
Better watch out.
I mean, I lost a lot of family time from this industry over stupid stuff because it was either stupid decisions made at a corporate level that didn't care about my time or what I did in the field. I'm not against making money. I'm a capitalist at heart, but this stuff's getting out of hand, way out of hand. And it's putting bondage upon working people every day for no reason. We have the tools to do things right. We have the education to do things right, but yet we make choices off greed and profit.
Well said. Well said. We can all agree on that one.
Remember me at the voting booth, November.
Vote for Joe Shetterly. All right. Well, where are we? Any other thoughts? Any other questions? E5 or concrete related? I mean, you guys are going to go out and just rule the world, I feel like, after this event, just beating up on people. You don't know about this stuff.
Now, I will tell you, I answer a lot of phone calls. I try to get back to I feel guilty if I don't get back to people.
Yeah, you do.
I try to help as many people as I can because I know what your guys' time's like. You guys got to make decisions on a dime. I mean, it's boom. You ain't got time to wait. Concrete's coming. Like, you ain't got time to wait. So we try to be very efficient in getting back with questions or anything that you guys have.
Yeah, we are customer centric. To your point, I mean, if you got a question, you call us up and we'll try to help. If it's
she
mixed
usually
design,
answers everything for me when
Yep.
I can't get to it, and then I take them in the order.
Kevin
I can.
Moore, Micah, I mean, the whole team. Ben Shetterly, your nephew, he runs around the country.
He's the fourth generation. My nephew's 38. He was pre-med and going to be a missionary doctor in Ecuador. And he threw away his whole education and everything because he said, I just want to be in the family business of concrete. And I said,
Oh.
yeah, that's not smart. That was not smart
Yeah.
at all. But he has a chemistry
is
background and bio
wicked
and
smart.
things like that. So he digs in on this concrete chemistry a whole lot different than I do. And then his son is 12, and now he wants to pour concrete. So that's fifth generation that we'll actually have in the concrete industry. And then my cousin used to work at a concrete company called IMI down in Indiana.
Big
I don't know if
Red.
anybody's older, Big Red. He was a batch guy, mixed design guy for them for 35 years in my family. So I've dealt with that company for many, many years. My grandfather was the second backhoe operator for Skunk Irving back in the day. So there's not too many pieces of the industry our family's not been involved in or touched. One of my mixed design gurus is named Jim Render. He actually worked at Euclid for 10 years. He worked at S-Rock Cement Manufacturing for 20 years selling cement. So that's why I know a whole lot more about the cement
And you
industry
guys
than I need
battle.
to.
You guys battle and
Because he
battle.
told me all the inside workings of it because he was there. And me and him do go around
Yep.
and round about stuff. But that's healthy. You should be able to have healthy debates and not be mad at one another. Like I tell everybody, if this stuff offends you, you might be the issue.
So that next designer you just talked about, he works for you?
Yeah, he works for me.
So that's a guy that,
Yeah, I try to get him connected with producers and say, hey, this, Jim goes through things.
Optimize mixes.
And we just look at things and say, this is where you could see a problem. This is where you might see a problem. And this is what our advice would be. Chris Wolf a lot of technical guys are very protective of their mix designs and things like that. And I get it. We're all protective of our work and things like that. But you also got to be willing to not, open the door for things that have changed, because not everything's staying the same. We have different levels in the quarries now. There's different limestones being taken out, made into cement. All those things they're always changing. It's just not an industry you can say it's the same. Cement's not cement, period.
Yeah, so sharing information is the way to go.
Absolutely.
That's what we gotta
got to
do
be
every day.
transparent in this industry.
Yes, sir.
So going back to when you started, so you said you've got a couple 100,000 yards of concrete on the ground with,
Had 200,000 yards.
with E5 in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously went back and looked
Oh, yeah,
at
I've
all
been-
that exterior flat work.
Yeah, like this weekend, I went back and looked at a couple jobs that were back in 2016, 17, back in my old days. Went to a couple hospitals. So my daughter, Hannah, on Saturdays, we have to drive to keep her mind calm. Dad, we don't have no conversations because she doesn't speak. Sometimes it's quiet, but I'll go to jobs just to get her a drive, and I'll check some of the old stuff out. And I've snuck into buildings that
Yes,
check-
we have. Yes, we have. Find
snuck
it
into
back.
buildings. I can't get into buildings to see how the joints are reacting and things like that. So every once in a while, I'll see someone walk in. I'll walk in because I just want to see the floor,
Just look at the concrete floor.
just to look at the concrete.
Uh-huh.
But I go back. I'm a concrete nerd, so
We got parking garages in northern Indiana. We go back and see that the handrails are almost rusted out
But the
from all the
concrete's not
brine and
tore down.
salts, but the concrete still got that nice broom finish on it.
I mean, Four Winds Casino in South Bend, Indiana.
sir.
We just finished 2 years ago that 27-story high-rise, and not one piece of curing.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, it was all done with.
And oh, by the way, there were a couple loads that didn't have air in it that
yeah, I don't want to go down that.
that they said, Joe said, just keep it, just keep
It'll
it.
be all
We'll,
right.
we'll see what happens. No air entrainment in freestyle. So
I would say when you need to use those extra protections is what you govern, like today's like this. Absolutely, I would use it because this is just brutal. I mean, there's no chemical going to overcome this type of moisture drive because that's what you're getting. These temperatures rise up, the only humidity is driving, and it doesn't matter. I can't make water heavy enough for this type of brutal atmosphere. I mean, you have to pay attention to that day. But 80, 90% of the time, we didn't use it. Didn't need to with this type of materials because they are the extended curing piece. And I think that term's defined incorrectly because curing means you get rid of an issue. And our traditional curing methods ain't getting rid of the issues. So what am I curing? I'm not curing anything. I'm just Band-Aiding a problem.
A lot of the things that you've been talking about have been in the lower states, Indiana and stuff. Have you been pouring E5 in northern Minnesota, Michigan, North Dakota, where it gets
brutal cold temperature.
I got a question for you guys. Do you guys know how many actual freestall cycles you guys go through up here?
a lot?
Okay, so Indiana goes through 30 to 50. So I don't know if you guys extend past that. So we're about 30 to 50 freestall cycles. I have recently done the concrete crisis research. I don't know if you guys know about that. So one thing I do when someone tells me I'm wrong, I'm going to go prove I'm wrong. And I hope I am wrong, but I'm going to go spend the money. So they told me that E5 don't replace traditional curing. I said, okay, we'll find out.
This was DOT.
That's your opinion.
DOT. Yep.
My opinion's different. We can have different opinions. Great, awesome. But I'm gonna go figure it out. So I grabbed $200,000 of money, and I set an actual bridge up on the ground to NDOT specs, rebar, bidwell, did everything according
Pouring,
to their spec.
pumping.
Poured it, pumped it, and then what we did 5 different mix designs. I did their control, and then I did the control plus E5 internal cure, and then I did what we call the 580 mix. It's basically we reduce the cement down to 80 more pounds from the control, and we put LFA and internal cure only, and that's it. We don't put any water reducers in. We run the water cement ratio up to 0.48. That's what I consider a good mix. for a bridge. So we did all that, but each piece section, we wet cured this section of that mix, and then we used curing compound of that mix. Then I went to the next mix, and then I did wet cure, curing compound. And then I went to the next mix, which was the 580, and I just put plastic. That's it.
And we left some open as well.
So then, after abrasion testing, I did 29 petrograph analysis. I did backscattering imaging where they are able to slice the surface of the concrete, because all I was worried about was the actual surface. I could care less about that body of the concrete. I'm more worried about that surface. So they were able to cut that surface down to 1/64th of an inch and then measure that 1/64th of an inch in 15 layers to see what the porosity and the density of that paste was. When it all came back, half this side of that control was 1L, half of this side was type 1. I just wanted to show the difference. And all this information's available, every piece of this. All this research,
It's
everything's
lengthy.
available.
It's lengthy.
It's ready to go. It's
50 pages.
279 pages of data. The summary was type 1L with wet cure was worse than the actual curing compound. Curing compound was better on the 1L. Why? Because the curing compound went on later. It was able to bleed out. The water cure, they just stuck straight on and actually exposed the sand and the aggregates of the 1L. Now, when you go to type 1, the wet cure was better than the curing compound. Okay, I can understand that. There's less fines in the type 1. All right, I buy that. Curing compound just didn't perform well underneath the type 1.
Now, to her question, the free stall, right?
Hold on.
We took the bars.
Yeah, so what ended up happening was I had to do free stall. So I took those mixes, and ASTM 666 requires 300 free stall cycles. So I took these bars to 700, and we still passed, the 580 mix still passed the 700 cycles when they were both in, but the other ones did not.
I legitimately don't know this answer, so I'm gonna ask it because you said no questions were stupid.
No, they're not.
So, on a freestyle cycle,
Mhm.
does it matter how far the temperature swings?
Okay, so the temperature sways, so it runs it up to 52 degrees, and then it takes it down to 0. And it does that 300 times. That's the temperature swing.
20 below to 96?
The machines won't go any lower than I think that's 0.
In your opinion, would that make a difference further north you go?
No, because I think the longer you can keep something froze, the better. It's when it goes through that up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, that is where it plays havoc on our concrete. But if I can keep it, if it would freeze at the beginning of winter and never thaw out, you'd last longer.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, so if it freezes, I just soon say it stay froze. Stay froze till spring and we're good.
And the colder it goes,
And when it starts jumping up and
the
down,
longer it's got.
it's just, no. But it goes back to particle packing. I know tarantula curve mixes will last better in a freestall machine than just a standard mix. I've seen it all the time. You're just particle packing and making things denser. None of this is like rocket science. I mean, it's just the industry's just got blinded, to say it politely.
Politically.
You'll have to do a lot of editing, Ben.
Kudos to Ben. All right, folks. I mean, we are at 12:09, so they're gonna kick us out of here. Anything else that is hot on the topic, hot on the plates? We are here to help post-event. Grab our cards, grab our information. Please contact us. I mean, if you don't use E5, I mean, irregardless, we're here to help. So
Yeah, I mean, I
whatever it
help
takes.
people regardless. It doesn't matter if you're using me or not, because to be honest with you, there's more concrete than you can shake a stick at around here.
Yep.
I mean, there's products out there to this day. I mean, one of my favorite admixture companies is Silica. I mean, that's what I cut my teeth on. I mean, I like Silica's ink, but there's some things Silica's like, no, that stuff's junk. Get it out of here. You don't need to sell it. But they were always my go-to. They just seem to be the most reliable, I should say, in the chemical world. So.
Just to clear the air, there's no lawsuit against E5, right?
Okay,
Let's talk
hold on.
about that fun stuff. Yeah.
There's no lawsuit against E5.
Nope.
But there is a lawsuit E5 has pursued against its infringer.
competition.
And
Competition.
I'll put it on record. We won.
Yes,
They
sir.
were found guilty, breach of contract,
Yep.
breach of everything. So we go into settlement next month.
So when we talk about the patents, the blue collar guys that did this, right? The patent relies on a certain size of nanoparticle.
Yeah, you can't
right?
get inside my range.
And so we've patented that certain size, and then when people can come into the market and play outside of those ranges, by all means. But when they say they're not playing in our range and they do play in our range, then we then send letters out and say, hey, by the way, you're doing this. Oh no, we're not. And then yes, with this they are. And so there's the war chest methodology where a small company now has to spend millions of dollars to try to fight off the people that once said, oh, this stuff doesn't work, but now they're seeing the market adoption, right? And they're seeing some of these big players in the market are like, oh, this stuff.
I've always said this: if this had a
Good bit.
Silica, Euclid, Saint-Gobain, Crisa, whatever name you want to call it behind it, this would be everywhere in the United
Everywhere
States
in a heartbeat.
tomorrow.
No questions asked.
But because it comes from a finisher, because it comes from someone that doesn't have credentials or in their political network of committees, ACI or ASTM, this can't be possible.
We don't really pay the.
But the Wright brothers
pay
created
the
the airplane
people.
before NASA did.
What was the name of the company you won the lawsuit?
Premier Admixtures
Out of Ohio.
out of Ohio.
Yep.
And the reason the patent's pretty broad, and the reason we did it is because, first of all, the guy come to me and said I needed to file intellectual property, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. I finished concrete for a living. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I got a fast education in intellectual property, so he helped me build it, design it. But what we did is we knew there were certain particles and sizes and shapes that would be detrimental to concrete and that they should never be there. So we broadened those sizes so we could protect the industry from using things that don't need to be used, because we know how this industry is. They just sell water just to sell water, right? And they market it up, and just because it comes from the big 5 chemicals, oh, it must work. Nah, dude, they're just peddling chemicals. That's all they're doing. It doesn't mean it works. Vet it. Question the snot out of these guys and what they're selling. How does it change? But I tried to protect it so people would not just go grab anything off the shelf and go, hey, same as E5. No, you're not. Absolutely not. It's impossible. And if you are, well, you're getting a phone call.
And they did.
And they did.
They got a phone call. A couple phone calls. So yeah, that's the gist of the
'Cause at the
legal
end,
issues.
That fight is protecting my daughter. So I'm sure people, if you have kids in there, you're going to do it all links to protect your kids.
And the Giving Hope Foundation. Yep, that's what we're all about. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate y'all being here. I know we ran over, but hopefully you garnered some information from today. And again, please reach out to us if you got any questions, how we can help Mix Designs. Otherwise, we are just here to help you. So thanks again for coming.
Hey, all you finishers, love y'all to death. Keep up the good fight,
Come
man.
on. Come on, baby. Yes, sir.
Keep it up.